Hello, very excited to be speaking with the inimitable and amazing Dan Rosenberg. Dan is the CEO of Octane11. Dan has taught me more about B2B marketing, particularly, although actually, frankly, more than just measurement and media, but all aspects. I would say for the Imaginarium, um, our OG kind of go-to-market partner, and has been someone that for our Imaginarium journey we've been on right every step of the way, and someone I admire tremendously, as well as his platform Octane11 that he has built that I think is doing unique things, not just best in class things, but different than anyone else in around B2B measurement. And so let's get into this. One of the great things about Dan's perch as the king of B2B measurement is that you have a really remarkable window into media behavior in the B2B ecosystem. So maybe a nice place to start. One, why don't you just tell us for 1 sec, because we may put this up on, make this a video. Give us 2 seconds on Octane11, and then talk a little bit about what you have, what you see in the media ecosystem today, across all the industries you work in and your brand partners work in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks, Scott. No, all the feelings mutual across all those points. So the very quick on Octane11 is that it was really born out of my own frustration as a CMO in B2B, trying to connect the dots across all of the paid, owned, and earned tools and tactics and vendors and partners that we were using. I mean, we were using like 20 some odd different partners, and a CEO or CFO or CRO.
Was this at MediaMath?
This is at me. Yeah, I was the chief strategy officer and the CMO at MediaMath. Yep. And the CEO or the CFO or CRO would come by my desk. That was when we were all in office. Come by my desk at the end of the day and say, "Hey, so like, what's running right now? Or like, what campaigns? What tactics? What's working? What's coming next? We've got more money to spend. What should we spend it on? That's going to really juice our leads, our inbounds, yeah. Or just got out of a board meeting and we need to cut. Like, what should we cut without having a major impact on our pipeline?" And it was like, wow, let me get back to you. Like, I got to go do research. I got to talk to 15 people. I got to do some crazy analysis. Just really, really hard. And that is just insane. And one thing that's crazy is that if you are a CEO or CFO, you have no idea how hard it is for CMOs to get those answers. You just figure, okay, well, we're doing so much in digital, we have all these tools, like that should be instant, and it's not. Mm-hmm. You talk to anyone, like real practitioners using all these kinds of tools, it's very, very challenging. So the number one thing that Octane11 does is connect the dots by ingesting all the data from all these different tools, mm-hmm. enriching that data with account signal, accounts meaning like the companies that you're trying to sell to, or your companies that you're trying to upsell, and then making it easy to visualize and understand how all those different tactics are working together to drive customers through a customer journey, and then get them to a point where the sales team is ready to talk with them, close them, and then upsell them. But doing all that in a very simple turnkey way, and that historically has just been virtually impossible without some like massive investment in data engineers and systems, right. Like buying
a home built stitched together.
Like I'm buying a data integration tool, I'm procuring different data providers, right. I'm building some kind of BI tool, I've got an upkeep, I've got a team that's working on it, just crazy. And what I found is that there's been like two kinds of CMOs, like CMOs that say, hey, I'm gonna like really get to the bottom of this, and those kinds of CMOs just end up going down a rabbit hole and you never see them again because it's impossible. Or you get CMOs who are like, I'm just not going to deal with that because like, I don't think there's a good answer. And
I just want the numbers.
I just want the numbers. And they say like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to hire someone to worry about it. And I'm just going to go on stage and be go out, be an outside looking person, and which is great. But then they also start to get disconnected from the numbers.
Yeah. And so I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
So we're trying to like, get that happy medium where you can be an outside CMO, an outside marketing leader, and feel confident that you've got the data that you need to run your business.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, all right. So you work with, again, some of the biggest and best brands in the world. You work with emerging, high growth, enterprise companies. So you have a really unique window into the holistic trends in the media ecosystem, in the media, from at a channel level. You want to share a little bit about any interesting things that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that's really important in B2B as a CMO or in B2C is just breaking through the clutter. Like
Hmm.
everything's constantly changing. And the minute something is a good idea that people recognize, it becomes obsolete right away because
Right, because
everybody
some of the, all
just
the
kind
some
of,
of the auction become, what I mean, it's like everyone is
yeah,
jumping the
everyone just
same
kind of
thing.
piles into it. And that's like, and that cycle is getting faster
Yeah,
and shorter just because of, we're all hyper connected, social media, everything is like a boom and bust. So you just need to be really on top of it. And it's just another reason why you just have to have that data at your fingertips to be really able to jump in and be fast reacting to take advantage of those kind of windows of opportunity. And just as an example, like one thing that we found across all of our customers now, one of the really important things about Octane11 is that all of our clients are, we have a kind of a standard setup so that our clients don't only get to understand what's happening in their own
hmm,
ecosystem, but they get to see the trends across the whole B2B landscape, which is
totally.
amazing.
And it is amazing, I will say. And you and I did a report together for our friends at Goldman a little while back, and I remember there were just some really surprising and very impactful insights. Things as tactical as, Bing ads were really, really efficient at that moment in time. You know what I mean? And that was a
Yeah.
unique moment in time. I don't know if there are any insights that, and maybe we have to wait for
Yeah.
our CMO report, because I know we're going to put some benchmarks and some
Yeah.
stuff in the report itself. But I don't know if off the top of your head there's anything very interesting that you have seen in the data or
Yeah.
areas of
Well,
efficiency.
Well, I'll give you a sneak peek. I mean, one of them we found recently was Google Discovery ads. We had a couple of clients using Google Discovery ads. It's basically like a pre-roll on like what you'd expect in social,
Yep.
and it just wasn't being. It was new, and it was just
Yeah.
wasn't being sold, and so that just meant there wasn't a lot of demand for
Yeah.
that ad unit, which meant you could get in there at a lower cost, and they were extremely engaging.
Yeah.
So all of our clients who were using that were like super excited about it. And then our clients that were on the platform that weren't using it said, hey, like I'm actually seeing like on the leaderboard in Octane11, like this is a unit that's really working well. Like we better try that. And it's still ongoing as a great place to be, but it won't last forever.
Yeah.
So it's a great example
Get in
of getting,
now.
no, you got to get it. You got to get in.
There's
You
this
got to get
small
in now.
company. There's this little company with a great little product, and you got to get it now. It's called Google.
Yeah, the Google Discovery ads is the unit, and they're always coming in new. Like a new one
Yeah.
that's coming soon that we'll have data on soon is OTT through LinkedIn.
Well, so we've actually, to be honest, that's funny. You and I can talk about that because we've just started running that, and so
Yeah,
far, we've only have you have a much bigger window, but it's been great, and you know, we could have a whole conversation about CT. Well, actually, why not talk about it? I mean, have you seen from your clients, um, CTV, B2B for CTV starting to emerge as a more viable channel? It is, for me, intuitively one of the bluest oceans in B2B marketing.
a
And,
100%.
and
I mean,
I
just
don't
think
know.
about the experience of being a B2B leader and getting an ad for
I'm like Peacock.
something that's super relevant for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
in this great palette.
Kiddo, hey
It just
kid, that's what I do. I keep
yeah,
thinking of that. Like,
right. It's awesome, and the measurement for that is coming soon. So we're already starting to see that, and we'll have a good enough scale to really show definitively like this is
Right.
like the performance improvement that you're going to get by getting in there.
Awesome. That is awesome. I feel like I'm such a fan of Octane11. I feel like it's an infomercial, except for this is pretty much just like an interview for our own report. But I'm like, this is.
It's so
uh,
good. I mean, look, it's been a labor of love for me just because like something that I always wanted, and when I talk to people that I was talking about this when we got started a couple years ago, And we said like, hey, this is something that's really missing in the world. And we said, yeah. And then now we built it. So it's just really a pleasure to be rolling it out.
So, all right, what challenges do you think B2B CMOs are finding when they're doing channel evaluation, when they're looking, we'll get into measurement maybe after this question, but talk a little bit just about in channel strategy and channel planning. Is there anything that you've seen in the market today that people are struggling with, or or how they're approaching that?
Yeah. Well, I think the mirror image of the measurement side and how the challenges of that fragmentation, like you're getting that on the execution side, like it's really hard to execute and take advantage of all these amazing channels. I don't want to underplay that. There's always these new channels emerging or new opportunities, and you need to like understand them. What's the creative, the copy, all those kind of things that are going to best suited to all those channels. So that's definitely pretty difficult, and that's why you get great value. One of the reasons why you get great value from agency partners that can help you with that execution and come in with like they're already up the learning curve on how to take advantage of these channels and can get you there fast. So yeah, I mean, I do see that as a huge huge challenge. Just right out of the gate.
No, and I mean in the CTV specifically, it's there's a real creative challenge there. Is building video that is worthy of the expense of the channel. On the measurement side, well, why don't we just? There's kind of a big elephant in the room here, which is the Google. Google is no longer deprecating cookies. I think leads to. I know there's all kinds of feelings that eventually this is just a way that Google sort of doesn't need to take accountability for the inevitable deprecation of cookies, which is probably maybe, who knows, but it feels to me like this gives a little more stability to the broad sort of B2B data ecosystem. How do you feel about that, and how do you think that is impacting measurement going forward?
Yeah. Well, there's co-pieces to it. Number one is privacy concerns are definitely valid. No one wants to be followed around the internet. Nobody wants their personal data to be sucked away to who knows where, potentially bad actors. But on the other hand, like there's a real value exchange. I mean, there's content that is people want to be available, and it's got to get paid for it somehow. Users want to have ad experiences that are actually relevant for them. So you're willing to give a little bit to get a little. And then for the marketers, like there's real interest in like, I just want to reach the right people and be efficient with my spend. So like there's a good reason to have cookies or tags or some other kind of measurement. So that's kind of point number one. I think the overarching reason for delay is that there just wasn't a good replacement for cookies. So you need to have some replacement technology that checks like the good boxes without checking the bad boxes. So fine. Now we've got more time to figure that out, but it probably won't be cookies exactly. It'll be something else.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But just remember that whole cookie conversation is only relevant for one very kind of small slice of the overall marketing picture.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm talking about our clients are using 20 different channels. You've got email, you got social, you got webinars, you got chatbots, you got content syndication, just on and on and on. And like a lot of that is a known user who said, "Here I am." Like I'm in person,
email,
or
100%.
Yeah. But so the idea is to really combine all of that into a cohesive, coherent picture.
So certainly, almost every client we hear, measurement is fractured. Measurement is there is, again, I don't want to be like overstate, like obviously we know, we don't even talk about it. Octane, that's what you built to solve. But what do you think? Why do you think how are CMOs addressing this? What ways are they addressing it right now? What ways are they addressing it successfully in addition to using Octane11?
Yeah. Well, I think the state of the game is like taking every every piece of, all those 20 different tactics and kind of measuring them on their own. So like you've got to like I would say 100% of our clients are doing marketing on LinkedIn, whether it's social or it's paid ads, 100%. If you want to get measurement on LinkedIn, it's amazing. Like they've got a great team and they've been at it for a long time, and there's like great measurement there. And that same thing goes for really any particular tactic or vendor you're going to use. Like they're going to have great measurement, and getting that all kind of into one view is like step one. A lot of companies will build like, hey, let's build a dashboard that has like all of my different siloed things in one view, which is fine, but it's not really sufficient because they're not, all those different silo tools aren't really working in silos. Like they're combining for a full customer journey.
Yep.
And so to really understand, how each of those different tools contribute to the full journey of an account and a lead and an opportunity, like you really need to synthesize the data like one step lower below the visualization layer. And I mean, that is what our focus is. But I think, I've seen some, good approaches where marketers are trying to get all that data into one view, which is a good step, but not sufficient.
And obviously something that you have done work in is, and listen, the Imaginarium, one of our big focuses is obviously taking an account-based point of view and applying it to a variety of tactics, from demand gen through tactical ABM. And one of the big benefits of that approach is that it unifies sales and marketing around the account. So how have you seen the unification of measurement impact sales and the connectivity between sales and marketing?
I'll give you 3 good examples. Number one, you've got, when you're tracking all of the marketing activity against a target accounts, you can then answer questions like, hey, here's all the accounts that are in a sales process.
Yep.
Which of them have not gotten any marketing across any channel? That's a red flag, because that either means the marketing team's not reaching the accounts that they should be, or the sales team's selling to accounts that actually aren't agreed upon target accounts.
Right.
So that's kind of a red flag. So you got to say, hey, like these are accounts, maybe they should be getting marketing, or maybe they shouldn't be. The sales team's wasting their time. That's example number one. Example number two is you've got all kinds of accounts that are they're receiving marketing, they're engaging with marketing, but maybe they haven't filled out like a form that says contact me.
Yep.
So they're showing lots of intent signal by engaging, they're clicking, they're liking, they're sharing, all that kind of stuff.
And they aren't properly being prioritized.
They're not, because like the sales team doesn't know.
Yeah.
So you got to get that signal across all those different touch points into the hands of the sales team. So that's a huge opportunity. The third one, so the first one is around like accounts that are being engaged by sales but aren't getting marketing. The second one are accounts that are engaging with marketing but aren't yet in the hands of the sales team. A third one is something completely different, which is around content and campaigns. And so another really important part of Octane11, when you start to connect the dots across all these different channels, we also connect them not just at an account level, but at a campaign level. Because when you run a campaign like, back to school or new product launch, it's not just like a social campaign. It's not just an email campaign. It's like one concept that has 5 emails. It's got a landing page. It's got 12 social posts. Yeah. It's got ads. It's got events. It's got all that webinar, all that measured as a campaign. And if you do that consistently over time, you can see how different campaigns on an apples to apples basis compare to each other. And that also lets you understand not just how did this campaign do versus that, but how did that content do?
Yeah.
And when you can compare that, you can then say, well, maybe this is a piece of content that like we should do this again.
Yeah.
Let's have it like every year. Let's do a campaign on this XYZ topic.
Yep.
Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And that's a little bit about, going back to the LinkedIn B2B Institute about like creating hits.
Yep.
Like we got a piece of content, it really works. Let's do it again and again. Let's make the notebook, the lunchbox, the action figures,
Their
everything.
example is the state of sales by Salesforce. So we're doing the state of the B2B marketer.
Yeah. So those are three good examples on that front.
That's great. I love that. All right, thank you, Dan. Those are really good examples, actually. All right, if you were to say, and I know we have 1 minute left, so behind closed doors, what do you think CMOs are saying behind closed doors about state of measurement? What is their feeling?
I think there's a real crisis of confidence on it. Measurement, attribution, like these are questions that have been asked for such a long time.
Yep.
And it's still it's surprising to so many people that's unsolved.
Yeah.
Particularly when you get away from CMOs who've tried it and had an unsuccessful time. When you start to go to a CFO or CRO or CEO or the board, they're like, why isn't this solved already? And the reason why is because there's so much fragmentation of all these tools, and there's not any kind of like common standard. Obviously, that's something that we've stepped in to try to solve. But like, I feel like there's a real crisis of confidence. And anytime you're like, even when we're talking with clients or potential clients, there's a real kind of coming in with skepticism.
Yeah.
And so, also because of like attribution in the past, decade or so, has relied on like a black box of like figuring out, and like that's not sufficient either. Like whatever you come up with, that's got to be very clear, easy to set up, easy to explain.
Yep.
And so that's a huge part of it as well.
You're the best, bud. I think that's great.